The Discovery. The Deep Space Research Station, Horizon's Edge, drifted silently in the void between star systems. Its massive communication arrays rotated slowly, scanning the darkness for any sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. Dr. Sarah Chen sat at her workstation, watching waves of cosmic background radiation paint patterns across her monitors. She had been doing this job for 5 years, and most days brought nothing but stellar noise and the occasional pulsar signal. Sarah adjusted her headphones and took another sip of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. The night shift was always quiet, which gave her time to think. Humanity had been reaching out to the stars for decades, hoping to find they were not alone in the universe. Radio telescopes on Earth listened constantly, while stations like Horizon's Edge pushed deeper into space, extending humanity's ears toward distant worlds. The coffee mug froze halfway to her lips as something new appeared on her screen. A signal, weak but clearly artificial, was coming from the direction of the Kepler 442 system. Sarah's heart began to race as she quickly saved the data and started her analysis programs. The signal was broken and distorted by its journey through 47 light-years of space, but it was definitely made by intelligent beings. Sarah's hands shook as she reached for her communication panel. "Captain Rodriguez to the communications center immediately," she announced over the station's intercom. "We have a priority situation." Captain James Rodriguez arrived within minutes, still putting on his uniform jacket. He was a career military officer who had volunteered for this assignment after spending 20 years commanding ships in Earth's solar system. Behind him came Dr. Marcus Webb, the station's expert in xenolinguistics, though he had never actually analyzed an alien language before. "What do we have, Sarah?" Rodriguez asked, looking at the data streaming across multiple screens. "It's definitely artificial, sir," Sarah replied, her voice tight with excitement. "The signal structure is too complex to be natural. It's been broadcasting for several hours, repeating the same pattern. The source is in the Kepler 442 system." Dr. Webb leaned over the console, studying the waveforms and mathematical patterns. "This is incredible," he said quietly. "Look at these frequency modulations. They're using prime number sequences as a base language structure. Whoever sent this is very intelligent." The 3 humans worked through the night, using every computer program and translation algorithm Earth's scientists had developed. Slowly, piece by piece, they began to decode the message. What they discovered changed everything. The signal was a desperate plea for help. The message came from beings who called themselves the Villani, a peaceful species that had never known war. Their worlds were under attack by something called the Jack Collective, a militaristic empire that conquered other species for slaves and resources. The Villani had tried to fight back, but they were losing badly. Entire worlds had been destroyed, and billions of innocent people were dying. But the most shocking part of the message was what it said about humans. The Villani had heard stories about Earth from other species in the galactic community. They called humans the stubborn ones, beings from a world so harsh that it had created people who never gave up, no matter how impossible the situation seemed. "They're asking for our help," Dr. Webb said, his voice filled with amazement. "They've heard legends about humans being incredibly tough and persistent. They think we might be their only hope." Captain Rodriguez stared at the translated message on his screen. Earth had a small space fleet, built mainly for exploration and defending the solar system. No one had ever planned for an interstellar war, but the message from the Villani painted a picture of terrible suffering. Peaceful people were being slaughtered by bullies who took pleasure in destruction. Sarah transmitted the decoded message to Earth immediately. Within hours, it reached the United Earth Defense Council on Luna Base, where the most important military and political leaders of humanity gathered to make decisions about mankind's future in space. Admiral Catherine Stone received the message in her office overlooking Earth's blue marble hanging in the black sky. She was one of Earth's most experienced space commanders, having led exploration missions to the outer planets and asteroid belt. But this was different. This was a request to take humanity's military into unknown space to fight an alien empire they knew nothing about. The debate in the Defense Council was intense. Some argued that humanity should stay out of alien conflicts. Earth was still weak compared to galactic empires, and getting involved could bring destruction down on humanity itself. If the Jack Collective decided to attack Earth, human technology might not be able to stop them. Others believed that helping the Villani was not just the right thing to do, but also a smart strategic move. If humans wanted to be respected in the galaxy, they needed to show they would stand up for justice. The Villani offered to share their advanced technology in exchange for military assistance. Their star charts and scientific knowledge could advance human civilization by centuries. But what really decided the matter was the Villani's description of humans as the stubborn ones. Admiral Stone realized that other species saw humanity differently than humans saw themselves. To aliens, surviving on Earth was an incredible achievement. The planet's violent weather, dangerous animals, and natural disasters had created a species that simply refused to quit when things got tough. Admiral Stone made her decision. She would take humanity's finest ships and most experienced crews on a mission that would either establish Earth as a major galactic power or end in complete disaster. There was no middle ground. The expeditionary fleet assembled at Luna Base over the following weeks. 25 warships of various sizes, from massive battlecruisers to fast destroyers, prepared for the longest journey any human vessel had ever attempted. The ships were loaded with weapons, supplies, and 15,000 Marines ready for combat in unknown environments. Admiral Stone's flagship was the UES Defiance, a battlecruiser that represented the best of human engineering. Its armor was thick, its weapons were powerful, and its crew was trained to fight in the chaotic conditions that seemed to follow humanity wherever they went. Stone walked through the ship's corridors, talking to her crew and trying to prepare them for what they might face. "We don't know what we're flying into," she told her officers in the final briefing. "The Jack Collective might have technology we've never seen. Their ships might be bigger and more powerful than ours. But remember what the Villani said about us. We're the species that survived Earth. We're the ones who never give up." The fleet departed Luna Base in a ceremony watched by millions of people on Earth and throughout the solar system. For the first time in human history, their military was going to fight for someone else's freedom. The ships activated their experimental faster-than-light drives and disappeared into hyperspace, beginning the dangerous journey to the Kepler 442 system. As the fleet traveled through the strange realm beyond normal space, the crews prepared for combat. They studied what little information they had about Jack and Villani technology. They practiced boarding actions and ship-to-ship combat. Most importantly, they tried to imagine what it would be like to fight aliens who might be completely different from humans. The Marines checked their weapons and armor. Human military equipment had been designed for fighting other humans on Earth's surface. No one knew if it would work in space battles against unknown enemies. But the Marines were confident in their training and their cause. They were going to help innocent people who had no one else to turn to. Meanwhile, in the Kepler 442 system, the war continued. Jack fleets bombarded Villani worlds from orbit while their armies invaded the surface. The peaceful Villani fought bravely, but were no match for the experienced Jack war machine. The Villani leaders gathered in their underground shelters, watching their civilization crumble around them. They had sent their desperate message to Earth with little hope. Humans were legends to them, stories told by space traders about the mysterious beings who lived on an impossible world. But now, as their cities burned and their people died, the Villani could only wait and pray that somewhere in the darkness between stars, help was finally coming. First Contact War. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, like ghosts materializing from another dimension. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching as her ship's sensors began detecting massive energy readings from the inner planets. The tactical displays showed a war zone that stretched across multiple worlds. "Admiral, We're detecting at least 200 large vessels engaged in orbital bombardment, reported Commander Lisa Park, Stone's tactical officer. The energy signatures are enormous. Some of those ships are 3 times the size of our battlecruisers. Stone studied the holographic display showing the positions of alien fleets. Massive dark shapes hung in space around several planets, firing continuous streams of energy at the surface below. Smaller vessels moved between them like predators circling wounded prey. The scale of destruction was beyond anything humanity had ever witnessed. "Move us closer, but keep us hidden," Stone ordered. "I want to understand what we're dealing with before we announce ourselves." The human ships crept deeper into the system, using their stealth technology to avoid detection. Earth's military had learned to be cautious after centuries of warfare among themselves. They watched the alien battle from the shadows, trying to understand the tactics and technology of both sides. What they saw was heartbreaking. The attacking fleet was systematically destroying everything on the planet's surfaces. Cities burned under continuous bombardment, while smaller craft landed troops to hunt down survivors. This was not conquest for resources or territory. This was destruction for its own sake. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," announced the communications officer. "It's weak and broken, but it's coming from one of the smaller ships near the 3rd planet." "Put it through," Stone ordered. The signal was full of static and interference, but the ship's computer worked to translate the alien language. Slowly, they began to understand words spoken in a musical, flowing voice that sounded exhausted and desperate. "Unknown vessels, please respond. This is Captain Zara 7 of the Villani Defense Force. Our ship is heavily damaged. We need immediate assistance." Stone looked at her officers. This was it. First contact with an alien species. Everything they said and did in the next few minutes would shape humanity's future among the stars. "Open a channel," Stone commanded. "This is Admiral Catherine Stone of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call. We're here to help." There was a long pause, filled only with static. Then the alien voice returned, filled with disbelief and something that might have been tears. "Earth, the stubborn world. You actually came." The human fleet moved to intercept the damaged Villani vessel. Through their telescopes, the humans got their first look at an alien starship. It was beautiful and organic looking, built with flowing curves that resembled living coral more than military hardware. Weapons ports were barely visible, designed to be hidden rather than intimidating. Captain Zara 7 came aboard the Defiance with 2 of her officers, becoming the first aliens to set foot on a human ship. The cultural exchange was fascinating. The Villani were tall and slender, with pale lavender skin and large eyes adapted for their sun's dimmer light. They moved gracefully despite being in human standard gravity. "Your ship feels so heavy," Zara 7 commented as they walked to the conference room. "And the air is so thick. How do you function in such conditions?" "This is normal for us," Stone explained. "Earth has strong gravity and dense atmosphere. We're adapted to it." Zara 7 stared at the human admiral with new understanding. "The stories are true. You really are from a death world. On my planet, this environment would be lethal to most of our people." In the conference room, Zara 7 provided detailed intelligence about the Jacques Collective. She showed them tactical displays and explained enemy weapons and tactics. The Jacques were reptilian beings, much larger and stronger than both humans and Villani. They came from high-gravity worlds that had made them physically powerful and mentally aggressive. "They fight in rigid formations," Zara 7 explained, using overwhelming firepower to crush resistance quickly. "Most species surrender when they see the size of a Jacques fleet. They have conquered 47 star systems in the past century." Stone studied the enemy formation patterns and ship designs. The Jacques vessels were massive and heavily armed, but they moved slowly and seemed to rely on brute force rather than tactics. Their commanders appeared to expect easy victories against terrified opponents. "They've never faced humans before," Stone said grimly. "That might be their weakness. The meeting continued for hours as both species shared technology and tactical information. The Villani offered their advanced sensors and shield generators, while the humans contributed their weapons systems and combat experience. Most importantly, they began planning the joint defense of the remaining Villani worlds. The Jacques fleet had detected the new arrivals and was moving to investigate. On the bridge of the massive dreadnought Bone Crusher, Admiral Vexer studied the sensor readings with mild curiosity. Vexer was an ancient Jacques warrior who had conquered more worlds than he could remember. His scared hide and missing eye told the story of 40 years of continuous warfare. "Admiral, the unknown vessels are much smaller than our ships," his tactical officer reported. "There are only 25 of them. They appear to be primitive compared to our technology." Vexer examined the data with growing amusement. More Villani reinforcements, probably from some pathetic colony world. This will be over quickly. He opened a communication channel and spoke in the commanding voice that had terrorized dozens of species. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Vexer of the Jacques Collective. You are interfering in Imperial business. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." The response came quickly in a language Vexer had never heard before. His computers translated the words, but the tone was something entirely unexpected. "This is Admiral Stone of the United Earth Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to cease hostilities and withdraw from Villani space, or we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly." Vexer stared at his communication screen in shock. No one had given him an ultimatum in decades. Most species begged for mercy when they sought his fleet. These unknown aliens were actually threatening him. "Terrans," Vexer said to his officers. "I've never heard of this species. Are they some kind of Villani ally?" His intelligence officer checked the computer databases. "No records, Admiral. But initial scans suggest they come from a high-gravity world. Their ships are built much more heavily than standard Villani designs." Vexer laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through his bridge. "High-gravity worlders. Interesting. It's been a long time since I fought anything challenging. All weapons, prepare to fire. Let's see how tough these Terrans really are." The first Jacques attack came exactly 30 seconds after Stone's warning. 50 dreadnoughts opened fire simultaneously, unleashing enough destructive energy to vaporize a small moon. The beams of superheated plasma streaked across space toward the human fleet. But the human ships were no longer there. Captain Maria Santos, commanding the destroyer Lightning, had ordered maximum acceleration the moment the ultimatum expired. The human vessels scattered in different directions, moving faster than the Jacques thought possible. The alien weapons fire passed through empty space where the human fleet had been moments before. "How are they moving so fast?" Vexer demanded. "Those acceleration rates should be impossible. The G-forces would kill any crew." What the Jacques didn't understand was that humans had evolved under Earth's crushing gravity. The acceleration that would be fatal to most aliens was merely uncomfortable for human crews. The same planetary conditions that made Earth a death world had also made its people incredibly tough. The human counterattack began immediately. Captain Santos brought the Lightning around in a curve that defied Jacques' understanding of physics, then fired her main weapons directly into the side of a Jacques cruiser. The human weapons were different from anything the Jacques had seen. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid projectiles at incredible velocities. The kinetic kill vehicles punched through Jacques shields and armor like they were made of tissue paper. The alien cruiser exploded in a ball of expanding plasma, taking 800 Jacques warriors with it. "Impossible." Vexer roared as he watched one of his ships destroyed. "How did they penetrate our defenses?" More human ships joined the attack, each one moving with impossible speed and precision. They fought like a pack of hunters, coordinating their movements through rapid communication. Each ship seemed to know exactly where the others would be, allowing them to concentrate their fire on single targets while avoiding Jacques return fire. Colonel Sarah Martinez led a squadron of human fighters in a direct assault on a Jacques battle cruiser. The small craft dove through enemy fire, their pilots pulling maneuvers that should have been instantly fatal. The Jacques pilots tried to follow, but their ships couldn't match the human acceleration rates. Worse, the human pilots seemed to have no fear of death. They flew directly into weapons fire, trusting their reflexes and training to keep them alive. One human fighter rammed directly into a Jacques weapon turret, destroying both vehicles but crippling the enemy's firepower. "These beings are insane," a Jacques pilot reported over the radio. "They're flying like they want to die." But the humans weren't suicidal. They were simply used to danger. Every human pilot had trained in Earth's chaotic weather systems and unpredictable gravitational fields. Flying through enemy fire was just another challenge to overcome. The space battle raged for 6 hours. The Jacques had superior numbers and individual firepower, but the humans had superior tactics and adaptability. Human ships used the asteroid fields and gas clouds in the system as cover, while Jacques vessels were too large and clumsy to follow. Most importantly, the humans refused to give up. Even when their ships were damaged and outnumbered, they continued fighting with a determination that the Jacques had never encountered. Every time Vexor thought he had cornered a human ship, it would find some new tactic or maneuver to escape and counterattack. The turning point came when Admiral Stone ordered her entire fleet to implement Swarm Protocol, a tactic developed for fighting larger opponents. All 25 human ships attacked simultaneously from different directions, overwhelming the Jacques ability to coordinate their defense. The rigid Jacques formations, which had conquered dozens of species, crumbled under the chaotic human assault. Jacques commanders, trained to fight predictable battles against terrified opponents, couldn't adapt to the humans' creative tactics. When the smoke cleared, 15 Jacques ships had been destroyed, and twice as many were heavily damaged. The human fleet had lost 3 ships but continued fighting with undiminished determination. Admiral Vexor, his flagship burning and his fleet in disarray, finally understood what he was facing. These weren't just another species to be conquered. These were beings who had been forged by their impossible world into something the galaxy had never seen before. "All ships, withdraw to the outer system," Vexor ordered, his voice bitter with defeat. "We need reinforcements." The Jacques fleet retreated, leaving the Vellani worlds free for the first time in months. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Stone watched the enemy ships disappear into hyperspace. The first battle was won, but she knew this was just the beginning. Captain Zara 7 approached Stone with tears streaming down her lavender face. "We will never forget what you've done for us," she said. "The Vellani people are forever in your debt." Stone smiled grimly. "The Jacques will be back with more ships, but they'll find something they've never encountered before: humans who refuse to quit." Word of the battle spread quickly through the galactic community. The peaceful Vellani had found protectors in the legendary beings from the death world called Earth. The Jacques Collective, for the first time in their history, had been forced to retreat by an inferior force. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy not as explorers or traders, but as defenders of the innocent. The age of Earth's isolation was over, and the galaxy would never be the same.